to welcome everyone to our first Gurus and Guests. This is one of the Happiness Hangouts. I've been setting Happiness Hangouts because I think it would be fun for people to connect in positive ways. Timely that all the corona and shutdown stuff happened as I was starting all this. And so I'm hoping to just create a nice, safe for people to go ahead and connect with each other in a good way, everything anyway. But my hope is that these Hangouts will not stop once people stop with isolating and are able to reconnect in real life. Because the Happiness Hangouts in person have been fantastic. They've been going on for about a year, and it's just every time we go, people just get uplifted. We have awesome conversations. That safe space for people to share personal things has been super, super important. And for our first Gurus and Gab, our guest is Sandra Moore Gibson. I've known Sandra for, what has it been, 15 years? 15 long time. Holy cow. Very long time. So Sandra is one of the brightest, bubbliest, most energizing, positive people I've ever met. We worked, that was where we actually met, and everybody would walk through the front doors past Sandra and they would always get to see her smile, wonderful greeting, and now we get to see her again. So Sandra, you can go in. I just unmuted you. I didn't mute you on purpose. Sorry. Welcome. How are you?
Thanks, PJ. It's an honor to be here with you guys. I mean, just it's good to hang out with people. I mean, even if it is online, it's great to hang out with people. I'm just really happy to be here. Yes, I loved being at the front desk, and you know, it's fabulous. I'm fabulous. You're fabulous. Thanks.
You are fabulous. Fabulous. We're all fabulous together.
That's fabulous.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're not mortgages anymore. Sandra and I, we met when the mortgage industry was doing its nosedive. Basically, yeah. We rode that puppy into the ground. Yay! So what are you doing now?
So now I am an independent, a certified independent health coach, and I get to help others transform their lives, changing their habits, their mindsets, their finances, and I can do it from anywhere in the world. So I could be in Bali right now, but I chose to be at home, whatever, but it's just been a real journey for me this last year. I myself am a client on the program that I coach, and I have lost 105 pounds in 8.5 months. And so, it's just an amazing journey. And we've been given the greatest mindset, habit learning stuff to go along with it. So it's just one day after the next, just, learning and growing. And that's important, for anybody, but I mean, not everybody likes to do that. Okay, great. Because growing is hard, change is hard. And sometimes we just have to get real with ourselves and just, figure it out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that going on right now because the corona stuff, with people having to isolate and shut themselves in with themselves, we're being faced with ourselves in a much different way than we're used to. A lot of times we kind of depend on our circumstances, our surroundings to determine who we are, how we show up, what we do, how we lead our lives, and down to what we think. So now that people don't have those structures anymore, we're having to face, okay, what do I have going on in here? What are my thoughts, my feelings, my habits? And for people who are being shut in with others, they're getting a fun of that, bunch of that in a big way, and it's going really good for some people and it's going really bad for some people.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I
I'm about
paused because somebody
ready to
somebody
fire the
typed in
whole too.
congrats on the weight loss.
Oh, thank
So,
you. Thank you.
yeah, you look fantastic. 105 pounds, that's amazing work. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. It got,
fantastic. Congrats.
yeah,
That's
got to the point where it was just, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so, I had to make the decision to make the change, and yeah, I've always been a happy-go-lucky person. As you said, you've known me for a long time, and I would sit at that front desk, and yes, everybody got the same smile, and I treated everybody as though they were the only person in the entire world walking through that door to see me. But you weren't really there to see me. You were there to go to work and, deal with others. But that's okay. At least you got to see that portion of of the day as a good thing. So
yeah. I'll when Sandra and I met, I was actually going through my darkest times of place where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired mentally and emotionally of I had to make changes. I was trying, not doing a super good job of it and feeling like I didn't know what to do. Honestly, this is not self-promotion, but that's where this book came from, is because we did the system of, there's lots of really good self-helps, personal improvement, happiness books. And every time I would close one, though, finish reading one, I would be like, what do I do? So there at work, I was coming up with practicing that system of here's what I do. Because what you're talking about, it comes down to self-management, right? How do I manage myself?
mhm.
And instead of waiting for the world to manage me and then I'll just decide what to do from there, it's like you have to decide this is what I want. I'm ready to make the decision to do it, and here we go, right? I mean, that's what I'm getting from you is like you've gone through a lot of that same process.
Yeah, over the last year. Yeah. I mean, I've always
Yeah.
been, like I said, always been happy. I always have chosen happiness. In my life, I had a great role model growing up. My mom was just, always inspiring, always encouraging me. And, from day one, well, day one, I don't remember day one of my life, but, for as long as I can remember, my mom has always just been my biggest cheerleader, you know, encouraging me to just, find that happiness within, find the good, find the silver lining, so to speak. And, this just what I do now just compounds. I mean, has expanded everything that I know about happiness. So it's really a great journey to be on for me.
That's awesome. Well, can we dive into that really quick? Because when we talked about doing a hangout, uh, you actually wanted to talk about fear.
Yeah.
And so we had been preparing to talk about fear, and you kind of backed it up to talking about choosing happiness. So you just mentioned it right there. It was like, well, so why did you switch for this meeting? Why did you switch from talking about fear to choosing happiness?
Well, the fear was based on the virus, and choosing happiness even through the fears. But choosing happiness, I am going through, a tough situation. Circumstances come up in our lives, situations that we cannot control. I cannot control a whole lot of things in my life. And so, what I'm going through now is my mother in law had some mini heart attacks, and it's put her in a position where she may not be with us much longer. And so, I allowed myself a day, 2 days to just kind of grieve that, but then I had to pull myself up by the bootstraps and go, okay, no, you have to choose to see this in a different light. Yes, she is a wonderful woman. Yes, I am going through this situation, but that can't control me. That cannot control my thought processes. I'm sorry, I'm Irish. I speak with my hands. And so a lot of that has to do with choosing where I want to be every single day, choosing what I want to do and how I want to react to certain things every single moment of every single day. And it's a choice for me. So choosing to be happy despite the circumstances, doesn't mean that I don't care about her, because I do. I love my mother-in-law. She's a wonderful woman, and she gave me the best gift ever, and that's her son, you know? So,
Well, so circumstantial happiness, that's a really good topic because a lot of people kind of wait for the right circumstances to be happy, or they try to control life in order to make it so that they can be happy. So a lot of people, most people in my experience, treat happiness like this outside job. Like, hey, I have to control the world so that nothing bad ever happens, and therefore I can be happy because nothing bad ever happens. And that's not realistic. That is absolutely not how life works. So circumstantial happiness is not a real thing. What you're talking about is finding happiness within, making choices of how am I going to be happy in the face of difficult things happening. So I loved that you wanted to talk about fear. Maybe we'll do it again, or maybe we'll do it during this meeting anyway. Just because with the virus, I'm finding it adds this big level of tension and frustration to every aspect of life. So the breaking point for anything else, like what you're talking about, is a big event. Losing someone you love in and of itself is such a difficult thing, but you add that on top of all the corona shit. And he was like, okay, now how do I deal with this? Like, I have friends in Salt Lake or in Utah who are dealing with these earthquakes, right?
mhm,
And we've got politics going on. The life is already tough enough. So how
mhm,
do we deal with all of this stuff, right? And
mhm.
it's what you're talking about. We have to choose. So how do we how do we make that choice? If that's a good question at all.
No, that's a great choice. I mean, that's a great question. So you have to know and define exactly what it is you want to see in your own personal life, in your own personal, situations. And above everything else, I think you have to start taking the action steps to get there. Take the action steps to choose to. Okay, so here's a scenario. I cannot control COVID-19. I can't. I know more than anybody else can, but what I can do is I can take responsibility for myself, for my family. I can take all the necessary precautions. I can wash my hands a bajillion times a day. Okay, and that's my responsibility to take care of myself, to alleviate the things that I cannot control. So that's one step to take. I can't control the weather. These are things that I can't control. I love to go out and walk. When I'm not walking, I'm Zumbaing right here in my front room, and I have a great coach that, is leading them, and it's exciting and it's fun because it's community. Even though I can't go to the gym, I cannot Zumba or dance with anybody there. I can do it from my living room, and no one has to see how goofy I look, which is nice, because I don't look like the people on Dancing with the Stars. I'm pretty sure of it, So,
Oh yeah.
and then, I can't control what other people think of me. And that to me, that was like the light bulb, huh. And I hear a lot of my friends and a lot of people on, Facebook, and things are happening to them, those are circumstantial things. All
Mhm.
of those are circumstantial. So instead of looking at it as it's happening to me, well, what is happening for you though? Where are you choosing to take that? You can take control of that action. You can take control of that circumstance, that situation, and you decide where it gets to go. You are in control of your responses to every situation in your life. And for me, I choose to see everything in the more positive light. You know, the more you practice it, the better you get. I read that in your book, and it's something that I've always done. You know, it you practice, you practice, you practice, you practice. Okay, a baby, when the baby first starts walking, doesn't know how to walk. They will fall many, many times, flat on their face, on their chuckus, you know, they will fall. But they get back up again. Why? Because they don't know any better. But we, as we grow up, we do kind of know better, but we choose to not take the responsibility for ourselves and for our actions and for the things that we can control.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't feel like I know better, but I think we do have an instinctive part of us that just says, you know what, this isn't, you know, we always reach this like, well, what moment, you know,
Yeah.
because life isn't, we're dead. Even then, I'm not so sure. But, you know, it's like we're always in this place, well, okay, well, now what?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I love about things going on right now is people are deciding, well, we can't do what we've always done because that's not working. It doesn't work right now. We have to do something different. So we have to get creative. We have to take a
Yeah.
look at what do we want. So just on on that note, if you could define happiness, how would you define it? What is happiness?
I think that depends on the individual.
Okay.
You know, for me, my happiness may be something different than say your happiness or my mom's happiness. Or, I mean, I posed the question today. You know, where would you travel if expense was not an issue? You know, and there are so many different answers. You know, Greece, Italy, Rome. You know, tour of Europe. I don't even, some guy said Sportsman's Warehouse or whatever. Yeah, and I'm like, that's an interesting one, but that's what would make him happy, you know? So, you know,
I have a
just
cousin.
you
I
got
have
to
a
figure
cousin who
out.
sells Tulsi tea. You know,
Yeah, you
that's her
kind of have
response.
to figure
Tulsi
out
tea
where
makes her
your happiness is, you know, and that's one of those things, is building upon that to take the responsibility to get yourself there. You know, how do you do that?
well.
One,
So, you know, you kind of touched on having a plan, having different things that you can do. My my kind of natural question to that is, how do you keep that in the forefront of your mind? Because I know it's really easy to say, oh yeah, this is happiness for me, this is what I want, and then you just kind of, it's over there in the corner and you move on with life, and you don't come back to it until you kind of hit a brick wall of some kind and be like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted. And well, how do you keep that at the forefront of your life so that you
uh,
can?
for me, it's little notes here, there, and everywhere. I write them down for what it is I want to accomplish in myself and what I want to see happen for me. So like right in front of my computer monitor says, you are an amazing mom. And down here at the side it says, life begins outside your comfort zone. And
Nice.
so those all have meaning to me. You know, yours may look something different. On my scale, it says your worth does not lie in the numbers here. And that to me was huge, because I used to step on the scale 50 times a day. Okay, how am I doing? And I would determine my day based on that. You know, could
No,
I eat this? Could I not eat that? You know, and and my worth,
that's
my self-worth doesn't rely on that. What?
sorry. I'm just that counts. Like I put a little sticky note is like your worth doesn't start and end here. Stop logging
I
into
mean,
my bank accounts, like credit card accounts.
there you go. You know, I mean, if that's where you find your happiness is in the bank account, you know, by all means, take the steps necessary to build that up.
No, I'm saying it's the opposite. I had to stop focusing on any of that. Like, no, that's not where it is. What we're doing right now is where I find it. So
There you
that's
go. Yeah, hanging out. Yeah. So,
oh, so I'm just getting a note from somebody saying they don't think they can chat because I'm chatting and no one else is. So if you're having trouble chatting, go ahead and use the questions area and I will monitor your conversation there. All right. So my next question, because you didn't zero in on anything specific, I thought, for what happiness is. What is happiness not? Because for me, when I started wondering, who am I? What is happiness? It actually really helped me to figure out what I'm not, like what's not me, what's not happiness. So what does happiness not do, you think?
Oh, okay, that was the question I hadn't gotten to. But I was talking to my daughters this evening, and I asked them the same question. I was like, I don't even understand what that question means, but in talking to them, I was like, oh, I get it. Okay, so what is happiness not? Um, for me, happiness is not having a piece of chocolate cake. Just saying, I'm not a big chocolate fan anyways. I know that scares, other women, but whatever,
Sure, sure.
Happiness to me is not in the materialistic things. Happiness to me doesn't have to be I'm not able to hold it in my hands. Happiness to me is a feeling. Happiness is not, um, ugh, wow, that's a tough question.
That is a good question. While you're thinking about it, somebody typed in, happiness is not being busy for busy's sake. That's totally true for me because I get caught in that cycle of being busy just to be busy, or I feel good because I've got something to do. But then if I look back and I'm like, am I being productive?
Yeah,
No. Okay, crap. I really like that one. That one's good.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, happiness to me, maybe this is too obvious, but it bears saying, is happiness is not being unkind or hurtful. Happiness is not judging other people. Happiness is not being attached to imperfect things. Happiness is not being down on yourself or being down on others, because like that, judging others,
Mm-hmm.
also judging yourself is no good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
happiness is not those things. Happiness is not obsessing on all the negative news out there. In the in-person happiness hangouts, we talk about that a lot. People are always saying how much negativity comes across their screens. And it's
Yeah.
like, we're not on social media. We're meeting in person because we have a much better experience than all the negative news. Here's
Yeah.
someone else is saying happiness is sharing time and experiences with friends, learning something new.
Yeah.
That's a very good one.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So, I agree. It has to define what happiness is for them.
Right.
Um, and I'm just gonna say this because again, sometimes I think it bears saying, but kindness in general is always going to make people happy if you practice all the things that we know, like the golden rule. And I think a lot of people just think, oh, the answer to happiness too complicated or too simple to fix my problems. My problems are complicated. It's like, no, be kind. Start there. If everybody would be kind, that would actually save our planet's worst problems,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so stuff like that. Forgive.
Yeah.
Practice some gratitude, damn it.
So for me, during this whole thing, happiness has me being able to donate fabric for somebody else to make the masks. I don't want to do it. Yes, I can sew. I am really great seamstress, but I don't want to do it. Does that make me selfish? No. But it's also allowed me to clean out my craft room and clean out all the excess supplies, and I'm blessing somebody else, which makes me happy. You know, being able to help somebody else and in return, I'm also helping some friends of mine who do work at the fabric and craft store that are stuck there because people are, you know, making masks and needing supplies, and you know, so I'm kind of helping do my part there, but it just makes me happy to give, you know, to give of myself, to give what I have in the hopes of helping somebody else. So
Yeah,
that I think
yeah,
is
absolutely.
kindness also.
Well, and I think a good point to that is a lot of people wait for it to be something big.
Mm,
And I think people should just remember it doesn't have to be anything big. You know, on Instagram, I follow this hashtag called wildlife rehab. And
mhm.
they're always posting these different animals that people are helping recuperate from injuries or things that they may have gotten from people or in the wild. And they're trying to help them heal and recuperate. And I noticed it was recuperating this squirrel that had gotten injured. And the squirrel was sitting in this little basket that you could tell somebody had crocheted. And I thought, you know, that was a thoughtful little thing that someone did, that squirrel and the person taking care of that squirrel is benefiting from. It's this home now for this living creature. And I thought, how sweet is that
Yeah,
little thing that probably very few people notice, but it's making a difference. It really is.
yeah, that's neat. Yeah,
So I think what you're talking about is absolutely spot on, and people should just not wait. Find something. If it
yeah,
seems too small, it's not. Do
yeah,
those little things. It matters. It
yeah.
really, really does.
Even just sitting at a desk and smiling at everybody who comes in the door.
It's true. You know, you changed my life. Um, I was in a place of such heaviness that I was having a tough time loving myself or feeling good about it myself at all. And at work, there are lots of good people at that work, and but locked in our cubicles doing our work, it was hard to interact very much for
Hmm.
me anyway.
Yeah,
So getting that unconditional love from you, that smile and that brief greeting, it really was life changing for me. So again, you can never overestimate or underestimate the power of just a kind word or a smile. It just can change someone's day. It could change someone's life.
yeah.
Making me get teary now.
Sorry,
So
you're making me get teary.
sorry. So it matters. It just really does. And when we're looking at our screens and we're doing this and we're seeing all the negativity, uh, you just can't underestimate the thought, like everybody else, they're having a very similar experience. They're getting negativity too. So
Mhm.
even if we're doing it here for each other, that matters too. It's like just when somebody like does a little laugh or clap hands on my shares and stuff, it's like it's
Yay!
yeah. So
Yeah,
be the one to reach out sometimes. I know we're all looking to be validated, but one to
mhm.
validate
Yeah,
sometime.
yeah.
So we've talked about some of my questions. One of my questions is why should people choose happiness? I mean, the people who are watching this now, who are going to watch it later, they're going to have that question about choosing happiness just because that's the topic. So why should we bother? I mean, does it matter?
Why not?
Hey,
Okay, so in one hand you have the negative naysayers, the you know, negative Nellies out there, and like you said, you know, they are out there and they are trying to control your thought processes. They're trying to get you to agree with them. They're trying to drag you down into that place where they are, you know, and to give someone that much control and that much power over you, over your thoughts, over your happiness. Oh, well, let me tell you, it ain't worth it. It is not worth that, because your happiness, why choose happiness? Because you can. Because it's your choice. It is your choice. It's nobody else's choice. Nobody else gets to decide for PJ Whether or not he puts a smile on his face today, no, that's for PJ to decide. Nobody else gets to decide. Does Sandra, I really don't care what other people think of me. I have come to that place where I don't care what people think of me. I care about people, but I don't care what they think about me because they don't define me. I get to decide. I get to choose that happy place where I'm at. And I may be over the top sometimes, but that's me. I'm real, I'm authentic. What you see is what you get. There is no hidden agenda here. This is all me. I'm just saying, this is it, baby. You don't get any worse than that, I mean, Eleanor Roosevelt even said, and I love this quote, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. No one can decide your happiness without you giving them permission to do so. And PJ left the building. Just kidding. Okay, so I'm just going to keep talking so that, to fill the empty space. But if you have been and found yourself in that place where somebody else has told you you're not good enough, you won't amount to anything, you don't fit my mold, basically, take your power back, because that is yours to own, and nobody else gets to own that but you. Every individual needs to take and choose their own happiness. You can choose to go down the road of the naysayers and the negative Nellies, and you can choose that, but just realize that if you should choose that, that's your unhappiness is your decision. Then, it's nobody else's decision but your own.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Again, I think people underestimate the power of happiness. But if you don't choose, and I can't remember who said this quote, but basically, if you're not building your own dream, you're building someone else's.
Yeah.
Because if you don't choose and you don't ground yourself in something that you feel really strongly and passionately about, you're really going to be at the whim again of your circumstances, like we talked about earlier, and other people's agendas.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to choose your own agenda if you really want to get what you want to get out of life.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just comment really quickly because people have made some comments. Sandra has a way of bringing joy. I'm so proud of the journey she is in. Be the light. That was really great.
Thank you.
And they also said choices matter. Choosing gives you control. Rule the day or it'll rule you. And that's really true. It's like you have to choose, or else either someone or life will choose for you. And then your happiness is just at the mercy of life circumstances. So again, happiness doesn't mean nothing bad's ever going to happen in life. Choosing happiness. I'm like, you identify as a happy person, but do you feel happy all the time?
No, I don't. And that's where I have to choose every time. If I could tell you everything in my life that has circumstances and situations, I can name a few. I've had a few job losses, where I've been fired right on the spot. It's like, okay, well, I was looking for this job when I found it. So, I mean, but see, that's where I choose to just say that. I was looking for this job when I found it. Okay, I could let that job loss, that moment, overtake me, and maybe I'm disappointed. Yeah, but that doesn't have to define how I step into the next adventure for myself. I had a home foreclosed on. You guys, that's devastating. For the bank to come in and take your home away from you that you have built and you have worked and to try and keep it together, and it's a hard place to be. But I realized in that moment I could let it destroy me and never look into buying another home ever again, or I can choose to go into a different season and learn from it, grow from it. And I think that's where one step at a time, one day at a time, one event at a time. Like right now, we're all experiencing the same event. How we come out of this is, it's our choice. You're
Yeah,
smiling.
somebody's making a comment. Yeah, somebody's making the comment, that's amazing, Sandra, that you turned it around. Yeah, because that's a life-crushing event to
Yeah.
have something like, and some of the other things. What are the other things? You're going through death of a loved one right now. We lose our loved ones, lose our source of income, lose our home.
Yeah.
Those are all very stressful and crushing type of events. And I mean,
They are.
happiness is not just about feeling happy, it's about how you self-identify. So I'll tell people I'm a happy person, and they're like, well, you seem pretty calm to me. And I'm like, I am. I'm a very calm, sarcastic
Calm,
being.
happy.
I am. Happiness is not about just being bubbly and happy all the time. It's about how you identify as a person, how you choose to focus in your life, whether it's negative or positive. And like, it's not about denying anything negative. I think you've illustrated that really well, because you've talked about 2 life-crushing type of events, 3 actually.
I could go on and on with all the life crushing events I've had to experience, but I don't want to make anybody feel sorry for me, because I don't live there. Yes, they happened to me, but they did not define me. They did not define how I didn't just say, all right, F it all. I'm done with this. I'm done with life, whatever. I could have many times over. I could have, and I could have walked away from everything and just said, okay, I'm just going to start over. But that's not who I am. That's not how I operate. And so for me, just choosing every single time, okay, well, it's a chance to start over. Okay, well, it's a chance for me to take control of this in the way that I know how. And if I don't know how, well, darn tootin', I'm going to find some answers. I will reach out to whomever I need to reach out to get the answers. And, my husband has been a huge source of strength for me. When I'm feeling down, he's always there for me to just lay my head on and bawl on him, and he's always there for me, and that's, if you don't have a spouse or you don't have a significant other, get you one. Just kidding. You don't have to. Some people are very happy single. But
Yes.
for me, dude, no, seriously, there are other people out there that you can find that connection with, that you can lean on, and you can trust that they have your best interest at heart, and for me, mine is my husband and my mother and my children and my friends and my community. Those are the people that I get to be around. We have this little saying in our business is, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Think about it. Who are you spending your time with? Who are you surrounding yourself with? If you're surrounding yourself with all those negative Nellies and naysayers and, the constant downers, Debbie Downers, well, that's how you're going to think. That's what you're going to think. So if you surround yourself in a more positive atmosphere with more positive friends, now I'm not saying we got to be all, rainbows and unicorns all the time, because we're not. And yes, we do need to be able to bring our concerns and our woes to our friends, but it doesn't have to define where you're at in a constant state. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think my next book is going to be titled Sad Unicorn.
Okay, great. You're welcome. You can just in the credits.
Well, I think it absolutely matters, because life is going to happen and we have to choose what to do with it. And I think a lot of it has to do with having the proper tools for dealing with tough circumstances. So one thing with the corona happening right now is people are realizing how much of a tool for positivity, other people are, because we usually take that for granted to the point I think that we complain about it, we take people for granted, but now all of a sudden we're like, oh, you know what? Me, I've always been grateful for my friends because they've helped me so much, but I always knew that I couldn't use them as a crutch. I had to learn how to stand on my own. So I learned from their example of, you know what, my friends are really the most loving, the most generous, the most non-judgmental
Yeah.
and caring and compassionate people. And I was like, you know what, I like them because I think those things are in me too. So I just gotta find it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that in you, very much so, even over the many moons that we've known each other. And honestly, when I first met you, PJ, I had no idea that that was like you were coming out of the darkest time in your life. I had no idea. I just knew that all the girls in the building were like, is he single? I'm like, I don't know. You want me to find out for you? Okay, great. I mean, seriously, that was, and sorry for, outing all my girls, but seriously, I mean, it was just one of those things that I did not know. I had no idea, but that kindness that is within, was spread to somebody who really needed it. And, I believe that, and I'm going to get a little bit, I'm getting real here because this is my belief. It may not be everybody else's, but I believe that God put me in your path, PJ, to minister in that way to you. He put me there for a reason because you needed it. And I believe that the people that are placed in our lives are there for a reason. They're there for a reason. They're there for a season, or maybe they're there for life. And, I would love to keep all of my friends for life, but I know that I haven't, and I'm okay with that. But the people that I have in my life now are amazing. I have a great community. I have great friends, and I'm honored to be here, being able to share this with everybody today. I mean, I'm just very honored, and I was very humbled because, I mean, this is PJ we're talking about. Everybody likes PJ. So
Well, I think I like that you brought that up just because I think people are really good at hiding the things that bother them, the things that they struggle with. We're very good at hiding struggles, and it's hard to know who's struggling or what they might be struggling with. And
yeah.
so I think that's another good thing that's coming out of all the Corona stuff is that people are reaching, my experience anyway, I hear some reports of some of the negative crap that's going on, but mostly what I see is people reaching out in these wonderful ways and I just love it. What I want to see is that people continue doing that even once life, because I know it's human nature, once life goes back to normal, we forget, it's in the past, I don't want to see that happen. I want to keep the momentum if we can. I'm curious, I want to kind of go back to that question just because we're kind of getting to a place where I'd like to open it up to people. And Cassandra is sending a bunch of smiley heart faces and lots of love. She's one of my wonderful friends too. Um, maybe we'll have Cassandra on one of these times. Not to, but I hope you hang out with us again and do one of these. We could talk about fear specifically. So I just want to kind of circle around and say, well, what can people do to keep happiness at the forefront of their lives? I know that you talked about it, but I want to wrap up in just a way that we can say, how do you keep that? You talked about define what happiness is for you. You talked about things that we can do. So maybe if you can recap of like, how do you define happiness? How do you keep that at the forefront? And what do you actually do? What are just some things that we can do to choose happiness on a daily basis? Because that's really what it comes down to, is this daily choice we make.
So what is happiness? Happiness is what you choose it to be. And like I said, it's different for many different people. For me, it's community. I'm very extroverted. And so, for me, people are my energizer bunny, And so I love that. And so for me, a non-negotiable, and that's what I'm going to call it, is a non-negotiable. A non-negotiable for me is to stay connected. Stay connected with with my community, stay connected with my positive influence of people, stay connected to my own thoughts, and keep them at the forefront, and remind myself daily and post my notes everywhere. This is how you want to be. This is who you want to be. And don't let anything deter you, Sandra, from that, because Sandra is happy. Sandra knows what happiness is. She knows where she wants to be. She knows what what I want that to look like. And so you really do need to define that on what you want your happiness to look like. If you want it to be a huge bankroll, make it happen. Keep it there. Keep that at the forefront of your mind. Keep doing what you need to do to get that. If your happiness is exercise, do that. If your happiness comes from within, and you just want to, make somebody else smile, smile yourself. It's contagious. I mean, a smile is contagious. It's the most contagious thing we can give, besides the COVID right now. So
Oh, wow. Is that too soon?
to throw that out there. Sorry. But seriously, a smile is contagious. Happiness is contagious. I guarantee you, if you aren't happy, and you watch a funny video, and you watch 3 funny videos, and you watch 10 more, I guarantee you by the 11th one, you're going to be smiling a little bit. So you got to take those steps, the little baby steps, and just keep rinse and repeat, baby. Just rinse and repeat, and keep that. And that's how I keep mine in the forefront, is I just rinse and repeat daily. Consistency is key.
Yeah, it is. And I'm going to point out really too that people tend to look for happiness. They tend to look for answers. They look for help. They go turn to God when life gets rough. And I'm just going to point out that it's even more important to do those things when life is easy.
Oh yeah.
Because by the time life gets hard, we will have built up the right habits, the right ways of thinking. We'll have kept our resources handy of how we can keep ourselves happy, um, or feeling better, or at least feeling like we know what to do. Because, like today, with all this COVID stuff, I've been having days like this, and I'll start out really great, and then all of a sudden, like today was a tough day. And I think it's good for people to remind each other that that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay to have tough days. What you want to do is express those difficult feelings however you need to in healthy ways,
Mm-hmm.
and turn to your resources. What are your resources? You talked about people, other people that are good resources for happiness. You talked about different activities you do, like your Zumba, going for walks, do art. I like to play the piano. Like, even write down those resources. Those sticky notes that you have are awesome. Those are great reminders. Surround yourself. This thing, the technology is amazing. Set reminders on your phone for every hour or two to just say, hey, you know what? Check in. How am I feeling? How did I get here? Is it good or bad? Do I like it or not? How do I focus in a better direction and just move in that direction?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
Yeah,
all
I like that. Right on.
yeah.
Spot on.
Well, are you okay if we open up the
Sure.
platform to other people? Just everybody can go ahead and unmute if you want, or keep on chatting, because we have a question from someone asking, what's your new favorite lockdown food? Because I know that's a big one for a lot of people. Is what do you eat to keep yourself in a good space? Sorry, I think you're muted. I think you're still muted. That's weird. Can't hear you. Let's see.
Hey,
There we
there.
go.
Okay.
Yeah. What's your
Um,
favorite lockdown food?
so that's an interesting question because don't um, I don't play by the same rules as everybody else in society right now because of my journey. I
Huh?
have my own fuelings and I have been doing them for almost a year now. So all of my go-to meals are my fuelings. And I can have a chocolate chip cookie if I wanted a chocolate chip cookie. Okay?
Yeah.
And I can have pancakes in the morning or for dinner. It doesn't matter. They're all wonderfully balanced, nutritious. Yeah, all the vitamins and minerals are there, and so that's my go-to. For dinner tonight, I had turkey meatballs in marinara sauce, and it's a lean and green, all in one. Took 90 seconds to heat it up, and I'm good to go. So those are my go-tos right now. Um, Sometimes if I'm fixing my own meals, I like steak and broccoli. I like salmon and asparagus, and I like um, chicken. Grilled chicken from the grill outside, and a salad. Those are my go-tos.
Would
I'm
you
still,
cook for me?
yes, I will. I'll just send them right over. But
Oh
yeah, so,
man.
and I do have a lot of Pinterest recipes that I share with whoever wants to see them. So
So mine are baked potatoes and Cliff Bars because it's easy and I forget to get calories in my body, so those ones are really easy ways to.
yeah.
So we have a comment saying, "Yay, I love that you have a plan. Since I'm trying to not go to the store as much, once every 2 weeks for shopping, my new favorite is salmon hash, easy and from a can and bag."
Nice. Nice.
I'm
Yeah,
noticing a theme of
did,
simplicity.
did I mention that I get my food 30 days at a time? I mean, it comes for 30 days, so I don't have to go grocery shopping.
That's really good because I'm doing the delivery route right now, and it is so hard to get food in the front door. It
Mhm.
takes 3, 4, 5 days just to get the food started.
Wow.
It's a week at a time to get food here, so
Yeah. So I really don't have to go out. We're not even running out of toilet paper, so I'm happy about that.
so Diana, do you want to chime in?
Let's see.
We won't see it, but we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I discovered kimchi, a recipe that I found on the internet, and I made my first batch, and I made it with Napa cabbage, carrot, shredded carrots, and beets, and 3 different kinds of radishes. And it turned out to be spicier because of the radishes, but actually it turned out really great. And it's like, oh no, I have to go out and buy some more cabbage and fixings because I'm almost done with the whole gallon of kimchi, and it's only been a week and a half.
You made your own from scratch?
Yeah,
That's
I found a
amazing.
recipe,
How
and
did you get it to ferment?
well, it was, I just followed the recipe that a Korean woman had said this is how she makes kimchi at home. And it was basically soaking the cabbage, well, all the veggies for at least an hour. Well, I don't like salt that much, so I made it less time. And I made 2 batches, one with just the cabbage and carrots and the other with the beets. But the beets were way too spicy, so I just combined the two. So now my kimchi is pink.
Awesome. That sounds delicious. Kimchi is one of my favorites.